Yeah, certainly during the time I was at Harvard, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. The idea that software was this field that was the opportunity was unbelievable. That became more obvious during the 3-year period I was here. But my dad had been a lawyer. I thought of mathematics, like doing well in the Putnam. That was the coolest thing. And the computer software, I didn't think those people were as smart as the math people. So it's like, well, am I going to go into the easy field or this really hard field? But anyway, math was fantastic. When I finally picked and decided to go do Microsoft, then I got into a period from age 19 to about 40 where I wasn't able to look at the latest on how tornadoes work or how mitochondria work. I was pretty monomaniacal. And when I was able to ask Steve, this is the year 2000, Steve Ballmer, he mistakenly graduated, but then he started at Stanford. Well, I was trying to hire him, but his parents told him you're supposed to graduate, which was fine. But then he started at Stanford Business School, and he was in his first year, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll get him to drop out of Stanford Business School. So in a certain sense, he is a dropout. And he was very key to the success of Microsoft. I mean, he knew a lot of things. But during that period, I didn't get to do much. At Harvard, I took all these courses because it was just so amazing that people were interested in talking about them. And I have to say, I never went to a lecture during reading period or anything because the courses that I was actually signed up for, I finally started to work on those. So I was in Hillel the minute it would open to the minute it would close during reading period, trying to catch up on that other set of courses. So people say I'm a dropout, which is literally true, but because I like college courses, the online college courses, there's a company called The Learning Company that I buy tons and tons of their stuff, and I do at least 4 or 5 courses a year. In a sense, I like going to college more than anyone. So I've sort of made sure my job, certainly post-Microsoft, that I get to spend my time meeting with scientists, learning new things, seeing what the hard problems are, in some cases giving money to people to take on those very, very hard problems.
Well, part of it is that you limit the amount of time you go out into the world because it's a little bit distortive, and you have people around you like Warren Buffett or my wife Melinda who, if I come back and I look like I'm all puffed up, they, cut me down to size a little bit. And, I do the dishes, I have kids.
Do you?
Well, absolutely.
You do the dishes?
I drive kids to school. I have kids that think I don't see the world in a modern enough way, including even some technology things they use that they find it amazing.
Like what?
Oh, I'm not as phone-centric as they are. I mean, I have to tell myself, oh, I've got to check Instagram because my youngest daughter likes to communicate there. I have to check WhatsApp because another child likes to communicate through that. It's like, oh my God, I have to do all this. But, if I forget to do it, then it's like, wow, you're not paying attention to my life. I like to read email, and it bugs them that I'm so email-centric and that I'm, very large screen oriented. So, going out, just take like today. Today I got to meet top scientists working on solving malnutrition and obesity. I got to meet top scientists working on gene editing, which for some diseases of the poor like sickle cell or HIV cure will make a big difference. So I get a huge benefit when I go out in public of these interactions of how can we drive things forward. So the idea that, okay, I give up some privacy in certain settings, as long as it's not when I'm with my kids, it's fine. It's part of the deal. I don't go into a bar all that much because then people are even more, aggressive about coming up and talking, and that's probably good that I stay away.
Well, I think it's, if anything, a more interesting time. Be lucky enough to be a student at Harvard the ability to take innovation and solve problems, including the class of problems I'll call inequity problems. How do you help low-income students do as well as high-income students? How do you go to Africa and help the health and education take the incredible population growth that will be there and make that a positive asset for that continent? These are very tough problems, and they've eluded being solved. So obviously, the easy problems are not the ones you'll get to work on. So whether it's health costs or climate change or robots that do good things and not bad things, or the policies around those things, this is a fascinating time to be alive. I don't know what it'll be like 50 or 60 years from now, what the problems will be, but in your generation, cancer, infectious disease, so many things will be solved, and the societal framework of how you avoid polarization and how you maintain trust, those things will also need some brilliant breakthroughs. Well, Microsoft was very lucky in that we're not a capital-intensive business. It was financed by money I'd made in high school. And I did the school scheduling, and there was all sorts of software things you could do and make money fairly easily in those days, because the number of people who knew how to do software things was very small. We did take an investment. We sold 5% of the company at a valuation of $20 million, took in $1 million from a venture firm, Dave Marquardt's venture firm, just because we wanted to have him, actually it was more the senior people, but it ended up being him, advise us about various choices we had to make. And those early days, because we knew that software was this magical thing, and it was enabled because the chip was magical. And weirdly, people didn't understand that Moore's law essentially said that computing power would be infinite. And so the best way to think about it was to say, okay, software would be the limiting factor towards any sort of digitally assisted activity. And we thought of ourselves as a software company. We ended up competing with companies that were single product companies. So like, I wonder if anybody here has ever heard of like Ashton Tate, or has anybody ever heard of Ashton Tate? Okay, good. There was a great article where I gave a hardcore speech about our database, and it said, Gates says Ashton Tate never existed, but I didn't actually say that. I just said that they might cease to exist at some point. Anyway, very competitive. There was a spreadsheet called 123, a word processor called WordPerfect. So these were single product companies, and in terms of really building your engineering tools, your international distribution, sales, consulting, how you work with corporate sales force, if you thought of yourself as a software company and a platform company, it was very different than saying, okay, I have 123, which was a Lotus spreadsheet product. So we didn't fail for ambition, but then the intensity of executing on it was super, super hard.